Now that the kids are back in school, you may have a little more time on your hands to get life back in order. You're finding your groove, your flow, or as my next guest calls it, the hum. So I am joined by Jenny Layton, life coach and professional organizer, otherwise known as the Happy Gal. Oh, and you got the pink on, so you're like bringing that vibe. I like it. Okay, so paint us a picture. What is a humming house?
So it's just that feeling when everything's in that groove, like you said. It's just everything's aligned, you're on top of your home, you're on top of your calendar, and you're feeling really good. And I feel like this is the time of year for us to get on top of that. You know that holiday song, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year? All fall I've been singing it. I think right now is the most wonderful time of the year for moms and home managers, because we've got some space between now and the holidays to try to get back into control after the summer. So that's how we want to get our house humming. Use this most wonderful time of the year to really get organized and kind of get back on track.
Okay, I like that. You're giving me a new vibe on fall, because the craziness of the summer is over. The craziness of the holidays hasn't yet happened. This is our window.
Right, we have this little bit of time.
Okay. So you're gonna give us a quiz. You're gonna give me a pop quiz. Questions every woman should ask herself to determine if their house is humming. So what's gonna happen, I think I'm asking the questions and we'll talk about it, right?
Right.
Okay, so question number one. The kids just left for school and it looks like a tornado just hit. Where do I even start?
Do you feel that sometimes when they go, where there's so many different things? So I always tell my clients and students that they always start with home base. So home base,
whatever that is for you?
So
okay.
yeah, so let me tell you, so home base is that area that when it's clean and in control, you feel pretty good. You're motivated, you know what you want to work on next. But you know how you've got that space that when it's not in control, you're just like, you don't even want to do anything? That is home base. Usually it's kind of that kitchen family room area, just that cockpit of where you spend most of your time. And because that's the place that the clutter impacts you the most, you really want to focus your first best efforts there, and then you'll find so much more momentum and motivation for the rest of your day.
No, I agree. For me, it's kind of my kitchen island, sink, all of that. Like if I have dirty dishes in there, I'm just like, woo!
Right, so on autopilot, that's what you start with.
Figure out what it is and then
you do it.
Okay.
Yep.
So our second one is a true or false. I need a big chunk of time to organize a space in my house.
Okay, so luckily the answer is false. We don't need to do the containers and the labels and the big production every time. I find that people are most successful when they use a concept I use called Clutter Busters, and really what it is you pick a space in your home that feels like it's out of control, you grab a garbage bag, a container, and you set your timer for 10 minutes, and you just start decluttering. Things go in the garbage bag, things that go in another room go into that container. At the end of the session, you can put those things away, but it is amazing the boost that you get for just 10 minutes of organizing and decluttering a space, and that is absolutely the way to go when you feel like you need to organize. Save those big projects for later, but make a big difference now.
Well, and I like that you brought up the containers, because I do think with TikTok these days, so many of us are seeing these TikToks all the time, or whatever social media you're using, where people are doing it fancy and big time. And yes, we would all love to do that. Number one, it might be a monetary issue. Number two, it might be a time issue. So do you have some tips for us if we're not going to use the fancy containers, the fancy labels, we can still organize?
Yeah, so that clutter busting session is just the perfect solution. You might find you can repurpose some containers, but just getting rid of the clutter gives you such a boost. And it's like everything else on social media. We think it has to look a certain way, and it really doesn't. It starts to overwhelm us. So just that little decluttering session is what you want to do.
Clutter Busters. Okay, our third question is, what time management habit should I always do before I go to bed?
Okay, this is an easy one. Always, always look at your calendar and make a to-do list before you go to bed. Because how many times have you woken up the next morning and you're like, oh, I forgot I have to be ready early, or the kids needed to be out the door early, or you've got dinner planned, but then it's a busy afternoon and you can't get to it. When you just have that foresight of what your day is going to be like, you can set the alarm earlier, you can get ready, you can do what you need to do so that the next day just goes so much smoother. So that is just, time management can feel pretty overwhelming, but that tip is something simple everyone can do, and you'll feel an immediate difference on control of kind of that calendar and that pace of your day.
Yeah, and I do feel like if you don't do that, then you lie in bed and you just think about it.
Right.
You know, if you
It's
don't.
not even relaxing.
Yeah, do you say write it down, or do you have a tip of the way you think is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so after you look at your calendar and you kind of know what you need to do, I always say use a to-do list, whether it's digital or a notebook, and then start jotting down, you know, this is what I need to make sure I pick up at the store. I've got to remember to send that email. It'll just give you so much peace of mind.
I know. I saw a thing online the other day that said something about all you parents out there doing backwards math. It might have even been a Studio 5 thing. But that's what you do, because you're like, okay, we have to be there at this time, which means I have to start dinner here, which means I have to do this. And if you can get that out of the way the night before, makes a big difference.
Right, all that reverse engineering, it's so true. But yeah, we want to do that the night before.
Okay, our fourth question, another true or false. I know when to say no.
Okay.
This is a huge one.
I know. I hope everyone knows how to say no, but if you don't, this one-liner is going to be your best friend.
Okay.
So viewers at home, grab a Post-it note, write this down. You're going to want to put it on your fridge or your bathroom mirror. This is what I tell my clients and students to say. If I say yes to fill in the blank, then I'm saying no to fill in the blank. What this helps us do is connect the dots, because I know we people please, we feel pressure, this is what a good mom looks like, this is what I have to do to be a good employee, so we say yes to things that we don't have time for, and then we sacrifice the things that matter the most. So if you can connect those dots again by using that phrase, if I say yes to this, then I'm saying no to this, then it helps us align our priorities. And we just need to make sure when we're asked a question, if we're saying yes to something, that it's a higher priority than the thing we have to say no to. So, you know, volunteering at school, that's a great thing to do, but if it makes you say no to your health and you'd promised yourself you were going to work out more, you want to think about that. So that's just a great way to make sure that you're saying yes to the right things.
I love that. Do you have a key phrase people can say when they say no that's easier than another way?
I think it's, like what to
like
say to
how
people.
to say no, how to actually say, oh, I can't, I'm gonna work out, because then you feel guilty, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just not to make an excuse. I think it's totally fine to just say, oh, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. We don't need to apologize to anyone, and I think most importantly, we just need to tell ourselves, this is what I value, and to really stand in that. I think that's the most powerful.
And we also need to give grace to each other, right? And remember that when someone else is saying no, it's okay.
Right.
That's the second part of it. Okay, our last question, am I making time for what I love to do?
And do we even know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all so busy. It's hard to, we go from thing to thing. So it's really important that we think about the whole purpose that we're getting organized is so that we can be more present for our family, so that we have more time for our goals, so that we can take better care of ourselves or do whatever it is that we love to do. So my biggest advice to listeners is to just pretend that I have a little magic wand for just a second. I'm going to wave it, and the house and the kids and your work, they're all taken care of. And just ask yourself, if you had like one precious hour, what would you do with that time? And whatever it is that you think about, find 30 minutes in the next week to just do that. Because having a life that hums, that's the key ingredient. When you can show up as a mom, a wife, a person that feels fulfilled and that cup is filled, you're going to have so much more to give other people.
I love it. Thank you, Jenny. These are great tips for us to get our house humming in the best time of the year, the fall. Okay, we're all going to switch over to that. Where can people find more from you?
So I'm at thehappygal.com, and you can get a free Clutter Busters program from there. So to just kind of step you through that Clutter Busters that we talked about. So that's a fun place. I'm also on Instagram and Instagram and Facebook at JL the Happy Gal.
JL the Happy Gal. Okay, thanks, Jenny.
Yeah,
appreciate you.